Hi guys, my name is Ariston Verdon. I did my informative interview with Lisa Yarbrough, who was an OR nurse at the Samaritan Hospital in Corvallis, Oregon. It was really interesting getting to talk to her about specifically the things that she dealt with in the OR. I started out my interview wanting to know about kind of the general feel of things before you actually apply and how making connections and volunteering and all of that can really set you apart as a candidate. She reinforced the ideas that I had that volunteering or getting an entry level position is really important. And she even shared her personal experience where she worked at a hospital as a student, and then at another hospital, she finished her final practicum and made a good impression at both hospitals. And when she graduated and applied to those hospitals, she got the jobs because she had connections and people liked her there. I thought this was really important for me because I kind of had that general idea that connections in the healthcare field are really important, and she reinforced that um, meeting people and doing a good job before you apply can really set you apart from other candidates. She said you have to be proactive and show interest to gain an advantage and get the position that you desire. She did say that when applying for the positions as an RN, you want to pick a field that you're interested in, such as the OR, even if it's kind of a very challenging position to get, just because she said it could be difficult to switch from one position to another. I thought that was really interesting because she kind of just really reinforced that you have to be passionate and go for it in this field in order to do what you're actually passionate about. I really like that she included that, quote, learning is a continuum in healthcare, end quote. I thought that was a really interesting and good assessment to make just because with technology and skills, you're just constantly learning and constantly bettering how you can do in nursing. Um, I then kind of asked her about the general duties that she does. She said it's really important to have good assessment skills. So she talked a lot about, monitoring vital signs and being able to assess a patient's condition um, and noticing those subtle changes in order to inform others or, you know, monitor how the patient's actually doing. I thought this was really important aspect of the job, and um, she also talked about how organizing and multitasking is a part of it. And then, specifically in the OR, she talked about the benefit of only focusing on one patient at a time, which I thought was really interesting. She said, kind of during the day, that OR nurses manage the flow and get ready for like the surgeon and anesthesiologist and kind of make sure safety protocols are being followed. Um, Another important thing that I wanted to interview her about was stress levels. I've been interested in this field for a while, but the stress levels do kind of worry me a little bit just because I know that I can get quite stressed out. So I wanted to see how she felt about that. She said, obviously, when you're working in the OR, it's stressful to work on a team that takes a lot of call. Um, just because you have to get up at a moment's notice, like often during the night, often for urgent or emergency situations, and be ready to help and go right then. So she said that can be quite stressful. She also talked about a personal experience I found interesting. When I asked about support from upper management, she told me about a stressful situation that happened where she was on a team that took a lot of call. It was actually a cardiothoracic team, kind of an open heart OR team that was quite short staffed. And she said the lead surgeon was verbally abusive and the team took a lot of call. So she said that was extremely stressful and it took years to resolve with, team members leaving. And eventually the lead surgeon was fired. And I think those kind of situations are really important to take into account because you want to know what kind of work environment you're going into and what kind of things that you might have to expect and what kind of stress levels you might have to manage. It's an extremely important aspect of the job for me. And another important aspect is the rewards that you get from being in this position, which she obviously touched on as, connecting with the patients and being able to care. Throughout her interview, I thought it was really interesting. She often referenced nursing as a privilege and talked about, you know, the privilege of being able to actually care for these patients, and how the patients can tell when you actually do care versus when you're just following nursing protocol. Um, Following the reward, I asked her if she, ended up taking a lot of work home, and she replied, sure, but that she didn't mind doing that because she viewed nursing as a privilege. She was excited to care for these patients. She was passionate about the patients. I just thought that was really interesting. And following my personal interest after the interview, I'm definitely still very interested. It sounds like although that there are stressors and stuff that goes along with being a specific kind of nurse, which I don't know if I've fine-tuned into wanting to specifically be in the OR, but as far as nursing in general, I'm still very interested, just because it sounds like although those situations were stressful, she was so passionate about being able to care for people and being able to see uh, people go home and be restored and feel better and be with their families, and um, all of that. I think it can just be an extremely rewarding situation, and those stressors can kind of just equal out to this extreme reward of being a nurse. So thank you for listening.